Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Teddie. Welcome to my Dallas home.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, I'm Teddie Garrigan, and we are in my home in Dallas, Texas. First and foremost, I am a family person. My husband and I have been married a long, long time, and we're 47 years. And my daughter and my son, we're a close family, and we're a tiny family. We're very small. But so I would say I'm a family person first, but I'm also a businesswoman. And Courtney and I own a store together that was her idea. And we've had this store for 10 years, Coco Dash in Dallas. And it is a luxury retail decorating store. We work with designers all over the country. Because of the way I was raised and the way I was brought up, I'm drawn to a mix of really a mix of European and very Southern aesthetic, where it's all based on hospitality and family and actually living in your home. I'm not a minimalist, but there are times that I'll put something on a table and then decide, you know what, that's too much. I'm going to take something off for a while. And I do rotate my things out, but I would say definitely I am traditionalist, but I do like little bumps of quirky, contemporary pieces when it fits my mood, and that's when I change things out. Loved it. My childhood to me is very technicolor. We moved to Europe when I was 6 for the first time, and we lived there, and we were exposed to a lot of wonderful architecture and design from, past centuries, and I just absorbed all of that, and I was interested mostly in the architecture. I loved it. We lived in an old building, and I can remember the stairs were marble and they were rubbed from hundreds of years of people going up and down the stairs, but it was always very enticing to me. And my aunt, who I'm my namesake aunt, was also very interested in design, and she had a beautiful home in East Texas. And so when I would go to her house, I absorbed what she did, and she was very much hands-on. I mean, she did her own upholstery sometimes. She was very involved. So between her impression on me and the exposure my parents gave us to the way the rest of the world lives was really instrumental in my love of home. I'm named after my Aunt Teddie and after my Aunt Susie. Those were nicknames for them, but those are my given names. I'm Teddie Sue, and that is my birth certificate name. My Aunt Teddie's real name was Thelma Dolores, and my Aunt Susie's real name was Hazel Marie, so I could have been Thelma Hazel. Thank God they went for the nicknames. Okay, so this is our entryway. Okay, so many times in a high rise, you have to balance the small size of an entryway with either having this bigger space, which we don't have, and the reason is behind this door is a full pantry, which is, I call the store, because it is everything in there that, all the extra little stuff that if I want to change something out, it's all in there. But so this entryway follows the original footprint of the space layout here. And what I did is I love this Ixal wallpaper. It's the Bosphorus, Romantic Bosphorus, I think it's called. And so I covered the entryway in this because we are in a high rise and we don't have access to any green spaces, and I love the outdoors. So this sort of gave me that option, and I hung this wonderful 1960s starburst mirror that I'm just very fond of, and it has this leather braiding on here, and it's just such a great juxtaposition. This is a 1950s stone sculpture, and then it sits on this antique Italian console. And I do want to point out over here that this is really fun. This is part of a set that is very special to us. This was given to us by a friend. It's part of a set, a child's set from the 18th century when our first grandchild was born. So we've had it. Now that grandchild is 25. So I just can't not have it in the room. So when we entertain, we do have this console set up with either some kind of a drink or an hors d'oeuvre offering for guests as they come in before they enter into the living room. All right, so let's head into the living room now, which is our primary entertaining and living space. And this is a rather large room. And what we did is, my husband is a voracious reader. So what people notice when they first walk in here is that we have two large walls. This room is 30 feet long, and we have two large walls of bookcases. And God love him, he lets me hang my art over his bookcases because he collects books and I collect art. So that's how we come together with it. And let me point out that in talking about the art, I love to collect decommissioned pieces from museums. And I'm looking, and these two are not. This was the first piece that I ever bought. I was 18 years old. I paid $100 for it. And it was painted in the 1870s. And I still love it today. And then it hangs above a piece that was painted by the late Harry Lewis, who was a very dear friend of ours. And this was painted in the 1950s. So again, I love that juxtaposition, and it sort of speaks to how I decorate a space. And Courtney and I, my daughter and I, love to mix different periods and styles. These are engravings that belong to my mother, and I love these. They're different Italian cities, and they hang over these great chairs that, again, we mix all of our fabrics. We love to mix patterns. The sort of the primary piece, I would say, in this room is this cabinet. And this is from Nick Brock here in Dallas, Nick Brock Antiques, who I think is one of the best antique stores in the country. And if you haven't been to Nick Brock, you really should go see it. But so this is a cabinet that was custom made that we found at Nick's, and I love the detail in this. And it is a workhorse of a piece. I keep most of my china and serving pieces in there that we use on a regular basis. On top of that, Courtney and I found these wonderful antique wooden monkeys with overlay of copper, and then these shades. The reason I want to mention these is they are from a Dallas shop, also the Lamp Shop, she does beautiful work. And so these are all hand-rolled shades that were created for these lamps that she made for us. Also on top of this console are these wonderful creamware urns that were a gift from my husband and a number of years ago. And then this, of course, is just some beautiful coral. And we have it all tied together with that great contemporary piece that was a gift from our daughter. So what we might do is move here. This is our dining area. And because I gave up our dining room when we changed the apartment around, what we've done is we have this table, and it really has served great because we have people who will come. We can seat 4 people really comfortably. I also use this when I work at home, and it works well. But if we have more people, like for Thanksgiving or a holiday, we have a leaf and we'll open it up and do a buffet. So that works really well for our purposes. So over here, more books and paintings that, this is a painting that is by an artist named, his last name is Austin, and he painted in the 1940s, and I think he may have died like in the 50s, but he was very popular, and you could see him a lot on the West Coast. And I can't remember, I think I found that in a gallery somewhere. It's not a decommissioned piece, and this piece is not this real contemporary, but again, you can see how I've mixed them together, and that's just part of what we love to do. I didn't realize this was lying here. This is how crazy I am, Allison. This is fabric that I'm already considering redoing these chairs in. Isn't that a sickness? I know. I don't know, because I love this fabric. I think what I do sometimes is I will have slip covers made to go over something so I can change them out. But yes, I just realized that was there. It is beautiful fabric. I truly believe that a space tells you what it wants to be. I think homes do that architecturally, but I think any space, even a brand new high rise, this building was built in '63, but I think any space you go into, when you spend some time there, it tells you what it wants to be. And so for us, the way we decide where to place furniture is we spend some time in the room. First of all, we want to know how people live. You know, are they formal? Are they casual? This may look like we're formal, but we are very casual people. And your feet have to be able to go up on anything, and you have to be able to sit on anything. There's nothing that's off limits to anyone, our grandchildren or adults. And so we love to mix fabrics. We may decide on a color scheme, and then we just come up with fabrics. I don't like anything to match perfectly. I always like things to be a little off. For instance, if you look at these fabrics, this is a wonderful Fermoy fabric that is on these Baker chairs, and these are old chairs. But then this is a fabric that really has no relationship as far as anything, except it has a different shade of blue in it, and the pattern's a little bit different scale. But I love the way those two fabrics relate to each other. And then, for instance, this is another good example of how we might decorate. This chair, I paid $10 for each of these chairs a million years ago. But these are upholstered with this little very 1980s and 90s. And so I had these matelassé slips made for them, and it totally changed the chairs, and they're great to move around for extra seating when we have parties or that we just need an extra seat somewhere. This is the fabric on here. We like to decide where we might use performance fabrics, and because we are a very tactile family and feet go up on things, not on these dining chairs, but so if I want to change something like this, I just did this little slip on the back so that it adds just a little extra something. But these are performance fabrics and serve the purpose of having a beautiful design, but also something that is very usable, and you really can't do anything to hurt it. I love club chairs. They're always, to me, universally comfortable, and they fit anyone. But I'm someone who doesn't have very long legs, and so I like things that are a little bit lower, but I also love to have an arm. These are beautiful club chairs that we had made and upholstered in this wonderful fabric that tells a story. And we use these blues and greens, and I threw in this little bit of aubergine mohair to pull out some of that color in the fabric. But people are always drawn to these chairs, and I think it is because of the design. But works so well with what goes on in this whole area. This is an Italian, I actually think it's Venetian now that I'm thinking about this, secretary that is painted, and I love it. And this came from an estate in New York City from Christie's, and it's just a piece that I love. It's filled again with my Blanc de Chine and creamware that I collect. In here there are pieces of my mother's and of mine and gifts from my best friend who just also passed away this last year. And so when I look at these things, it evokes a lot of wonderful feelings, and I know that I'm in my space. So the green table, it's a tray table, and I bought it. It's one of those things, because I believe, like most designers do, that if you see something and you just fall in love with it, and you can afford it, you should buy it, and you will find a place for it. It is here literally because I had no other spot for it. It is a different shade of green than you see, but again, that goes back to what we love in the way that we decorate at Coco Dash, is that we don't want everything to match. I don't like much of anything to match. And so that sits there, and it just keeps your eye refreshed is the way I think of it, because it's your eye picks up the nuances between this green and the malachite green on the secretary. And then in front of it is one of the little chairs, the little 18th century chairs that was a gift from our friend, and our grandchildren have all used these. This is a custom couch that we had made through Coco and Dash, and everything, the lampshades, the pillows, the upholstered pieces, we are for the most part new. The side accent chairs and stuff are not, but the other pieces, I did go ahead and I decided I wanted a whole new look, and I just wanted to do something fun. So this is covered in, you cannot go wrong in a green velvet. Green is my favorite color, and to me, green velvet in a room, or any, whether it's linen or mohair, whatever, it just adds such a wonderful uplifting feeling to a space. And we did these custom pillows, and of course the ubiquitous tiger pillows, and then we have more art behind. This is one of my paintings. This is a painting that my husband bought that I also love. It's very calming and relaxing. This is a painting that I bought in New York City in the 1980s. I don't even like clowns. I do not know what happened, but this felt so French to me. I had it framed, but the little painting, I bought it at a gallery, and there was something, they weren't creepy clowns. And I loved the colors, the aubergines and the lilacs and blues, and I just noticed there's a little blue and white check in there too. When we do an area like this where there is a chair, we always put a drinks table next to it. Some kind of table where someone, of course, can put a drink or a cup of coffee. And in our case, it's usually a cup of coffee or an iced tea. But we always make sure that that's within easy reach. And we had this wonderful, fun camel table. And so we put that next to an English chair, which is not something that you might think of doing, but it works well. And then this is covered in this wonderful linen from Ralph Lauren that is a very muted animal print. So when we go over this way, this is probably, to me, the most important piece in my room is this little table. This was one of the first pieces of furniture that my husband and I bought in our first home when we were first married in our 20s. And it's the only surviving piece from our original living room. For some reason, I think I just switched stuff out. But I had Barry Martin here in Dallas do this beautiful tortoiseshell finish on it, and it just is, it really is a very special piece. And so I would encourage you, if you have something that you think this is beat up or the legs are scratched or whatever, find a wonderful painter. If you're in Dallas, Barry Martin Painting does these beautiful faux finishes, and you will have a little jewel of a piece that still has that wonderful emotional connection, but it also is updated and brought into to be a wonderful design piece. The coffee table is an old Gracie table, and it is also a workhorse. My grandsons have grown up with their sitting on a sofa with their feet on this table. The only thing I ever asked them was to take their shoes off, but their feet were always on this table, and it has held up so beautifully. And I like a coffee table that is pretty robustly decorated. I think it's, you know, we don't really use a coffee table to sit coffee cups on. In our home, we don't. But I do love it as a place to show very special things. And to me, I love to have something large in the center to ground the coffee table. And then, of course, we're book people. So I always have books that need to be somewhere. And I like to balance a coffee table with books, usually on either end. You'll see a couple other tables that I've done a little bit differently, but and then I just add in these pieces that are, you know, these are all old pieces that were, you know, gifts that or sentimental pieces from family that we've had forever and ever. And I have over here on this Gracie table, I have this Mexican pottery or terracotta plate. I have a set of those from my friend Wynn, but I love to put those out. And Courtney gave me this beautiful incense burner, and I love being able to look at it. So, you know, it just gives you, and then I always add a candle, but it gives you, when you're in a space by yourself, and I sit in this room often and drink coffee in the morning and answer emails, and I love to have that beautiful setting in front of me. And also my feet are usually on this coffee table, and it's just it's pretty, and it gives you a good feeling of home and reminds you of special people and special feelings. This is a pair of paintings. You heard me say a while ago that I love decommissioned paintings, and what that means is that museums periodically will go through their inventory and determine that a piece is not necessarily something that they want in the museum anymore. It doesn't mean the piece isn't good. It just means that, you know, whether it's for budgetary reasons or whatever. Generally, these are not expensive paintings. You're not talking about tens of thousands of dollars. This is a pair of paintings by an artist from Maryland, and I loved them. I love anything with snow in it. So this was a winter scene, and then here's a harbor scene, and I love those paintings. These are the original frames that they came in, and it's just a way, if you keep your eye out and you research, that you can find museums that decommission these paintings, and there's always something very interesting that's available, and it's one of my favorite things to look for. And a lot of galleries will carry them, and we see them, of course, at different antique shows, and usually they have some kind of paper that goes with them that tells you this is where they were from, and you know, this is the artist. So they just make a great addition. I'm a fan of paintings that are more vintage looking, even though they may be like a modern subject matter, I love that vintage look with, you know, the antiques and the new upholstery in a room. Sitting on this table, it's another Tom Brett table that is a bleached rosewood, weighs a ton, but he was known for bleaching this wood, and I loved this table. It's got all of the carvings of deer and elephants, and I'm an animal lover, so you've probably noticed I have elephants, monkeys, horses, dogs, everything in this room. And then these monkeys are one of my favorite things. And Courtney and I kind of, we didn't even flip a coin. I think I just sort of said, I get them, I'll be gone first. So these are vintage from the 1950s or 60s. They're Italian terracotta, and they're glazed, and I truly love them. And then I just use this French toll piece in the center with them, but they're just happy. Nobody ever comes in this room that they aren't taken with these monkey musicians. And they remind me of the old Meissen pieces. Now we're going to go into my husband's study, which was formerly the guest bedroom. And in this room, again, I have bookcases with some of his books. He still has room. I always try and leave room for him to add books, because you'll see there are books on chairs, and he loves that. So another green velvet sofa, because you can't go wrong with them. And we did these chairs that are replicas of the chairs that were on FDR's yacht, the Sequoia, when he was president. And I covered them in this fabric with the ferns, because I love ferns. And then this room to me is really special. It's very masculine. I love coming in here. There are pieces in here. My father was career military. I think I may have mentioned that. And he was an amazing man. And so I have a lot of his pieces, like this one, that were, these were awards that were given to him, and presentations from different countries. And we have them spread kind of around the room. And those are matchbooks that he picked up from different places all over the world. And so I really love that the two men that are the most important men in my life are kind of combined in this room. Because this building our apartment faces the west side of the building, we use these wonderful natural fiber shades that block the heat and the light when it's real bright in here. So those with I left these curtains. They were curtains that were in here before, and I think they look great with this. They're pretty muted. And then back here I have this beautiful Chinese chest that is topped with green ware that you'll see in the morning room that I have a big collection of. But and then one of my friend Win Morton's lanterns. And then, you know, I love the columns. We did the columns, and I put the big gazing balls on top of those just because I thought it added a little light, and, you know, it gives the illusion of more height in this room. These ceilings are 8.5 feet tall, so they're not vast ceilings. And then the rest of this is, you know, all, this was Win Morton's, this was his wingback chair, and I had it recovered, and my husband, you should have seen his face when he saw this trim. But I love it, and we call it Mopsy. And then I have a pair of these antique leather footstools. One's an elephant, and one's a donkey over here. And then I guess this is the only new piece of art. These other pieces are all pieces that we've had forever. Those are Jay Gould pieces. A TV is just a normal part of life anymore. It's almost like a cell phone. And most people want a large television. I would rather just have something beautiful like we did here to set the TV on, and it is what it is. You're going to have a television. You want it to have comfortable seating, and my husband loves to sit in here and watch a game, and this piece is one of my favorite pieces. Again, I did not have a place for this when I bought it. It is from the 1970s, and it's a tessellated horn console, and it has these little drawers in it that are trimmed in brass, and it also has a matching mirror that I don't have hung. But it's the perfect size for this television set. The only place I would not want a television, we don't do televisions in bedrooms. We discourage that for a number of health reasons and just sort of general sense of calm. But, I think if you've got a room that you prefer to sit in, that's the best place to put a television. We don't have to have a television in every single room. Especially if they're these big monsters like these. One of the things that I love to do is I have this big basket, and I keep it on a lower shelf under this table, and they're loose photos. I took most of these out of albums. My son as a baby, Courtney as a teenager, family friends, our friends at the farm, all of these things, me as a child in Germany. My grandkids love digging through this box, and it's so much fun to see them switching photos around and sharing them, and it's a great place to compile your photos, so to speak, but you're not having to put them in those books that you're generally not going to pull out anyway. And this allows people, we have friends who will come in and go through these photos. They'll just start poking through and seeing what they can find. But I think if you have a really pretty basket like this or container of some kind, it's a great way to corral all those photos and have them where they're accessible and you get to enjoy them. This is the morning room, and this really is generally people's favorite room. It is a small room. It's, I think, 15 by 13, something like that. So it's not a big room, but this was originally my dining room, and I changed it because I wanted a place for us to have more seating for entertaining, and we were finding that we actually were doing more kind of buffet type dinners, even though I love to set a table, which is why I want my dining room back. But so we converted this room. There used to be a door here. We closed that up, and this space is really, we call it the green room, which is interesting because there's so much blue and white, but I love malachite green, and I collect a lot of greenware. And so this cabinet, this is an English chinoiserie cabinet that's an antique. It's not a very big cabinet, but in this I have, this is my little dachshund Henry is in this little Egyptian box. There's his picture, and I have everything. This was part of a set presented to my father. This was from Win Morton, our family friend from my parents when we lived in Europe. And I traveled a lot on my former career. I traveled a lot in the Middle East, and so there are things from that. And so everything in there also has a memory or a reason for being there. So these prints that you see here are the same prints that Lee Radswell had in her, these are museum prints, these are new, that she had in her Paris apartment and then ultimately gave to Tory Burch. But we love these, and I have a set of 12 of them, and I think they bring so much life and color to this space that I knew that was what I wanted to go on that wall. We spend most of our time in here. It's full of things that are especially important to me that I love, that this is a painting that was done by Wynn's partner and our dear friend Harry Lewis, and this was painted in the 1950s, and these were part of their Majolica collection that hung in their home. And then as you come over here, this is just a wonderful little camel table that I loved. It's cockamamie and kind of quirky looking, and then more vintage paintings. And then this is one of a pair of these grotto consoles that Courtney and I loved, and we had these faux tortoiseshell tops made for them so that they're painted. I generally prefer painted woods to a natural marble or stone of any kind. I love the fact that it has a human hand to it, and it's just a little more relaxed and quirky to me. Then all of the seating in here is very comfortable. Everything's meant to relax and just kind of ease out of your day. And then these are some of my design books that I keep. Another gigantic TV. You know, these can close. The truth is, I never close them, but they could if I needed to. It is a cheetah carpet. Yes, it's Stark by Stark, and it is a cheetah wool carpet. And this is my favorite rug that I use either in projects or for myself. It's just almost indestructible. It never looks messy, and it reads like a neutral. So I really do love it, and yet it has a little bit of a wink to it, to me. Okay, so this is the principal bedroom, and what we did, if you've noticed, all of the walls in this apartment are done in a soft white. And the reason that we did that is because right before we moved back in, there was a flood in the building. So I drew the line at putting wallpaper up, and we didn't even paint. But also in our design projects, a lot of times we have used, and I prefer a soft white wall because I think it shows the fabrics and the furnishings so beautifully. But we did this beautiful headboard, and it has the matching base to it and the bed hangings, and then of course these you have to have your reading lamps. And this is all we use. We use a sheet, and it looks heavy, but it's very light. And I always do white bedding, and it's my favorite. And not lots of pillows. I'm not a person that wants a ton of pillows stacked up on the bed, because then you just have to drag them off at the end of the day. But so we just have a minimal number of pillows. So these are prints that are also from the gallery that made the prints in the morning room, and these are Japanese birds, and I always found these very soothing. So I have those in the bedroom. And then these were my mother's lamps, and my mother bought these in Italy when I was a little girl, and it was our first or second, I can't remember, when we were living there, I guess our first time. And so they're now at my home. And then I had these beautiful shades that Melissa Woody made for me from the lamp shop, and they're just perfection, and they're trimmed in this little tiny blue and white check. And it's just a really pleasant, fun thing to look at in the evening when we're lying in bed reading. Then I have all of these things. These are gifts from my daughter, my husband. They're just little tiny things. I love littles, and that can be kind of a problem. So this was my mother's chair, and Ultimately, I will have it reupholstered. Right now, I just want it to be, it was in her bedroom, and I just enjoy seeing it. And again, this is a lamp from Win Morton, and I love having those there. The two of them were very, very dear friends. I have this little desk in here. I do not ever sit at this desk. I don't think your bedroom should be used for anything other than sleeping and relaxing, and so I don't really use it as workspace. So this is my dressing room and bathroom, and it's very simple, lots of white, because I like very clean bathrooms and kitchens. I keep it pretty simple. I like it simple. I like, I don't keep a lot of stuff sitting around, and I find that it's more soothing, and I've got so much going on in a day-to-day routine that I love to come in here, and it just all feels pretty calm. I think one of the secrets to a happy union with your husband or spouse or partnership is definitely separate bathrooms. We have a rule in the Garrigan household that this bathroom is off limits to any boys. That includes husband, grandsons, guests. All the males use the male bathroom. Only girls can come in here. And to this day, my grandsons will not step foot in this bathroom. They know to go over to their papas. So it's, you know what, I like knowing that this is a tiny little space where I know where everything is, and it feels very private. It's very private. So this is truly a working kitchen. This is the original footprint to this kitchen, and we really made very few changes to it, and again considered we were getting ready to redo the kitchen, truthfully, and there was an incident on the top 3 floors that they have spent 2.5 years having to rebuild some apartments up there. So we just kind of put a halt on it because there's so much construction going on in the building. But I love this kitchen. It works perfectly for entertaining. It works perfectly for just the two of us. Most of the time we dine out or we'll do something simple at home, and so it serves those purposes, but it really does work great for entertaining. And this piece slides to that end of the kitchen and opens up, and then it becomes like a little beverage station when we need it. And then I brought in this piece. I've had this for years. It's an old baker piece that is 4 pieces. It's called a bachelor's set, and so you could these could be used as nightstands and as a dresser, and the components all change places, but I use it. You can see how healthy my food is. I use it to store food and as a pantry, and then I keep the silver that I use every day in here. And then I'll show you my actual china cabinet. These were open shelves when we were here before, or open areas. They were all mirrored. And so I had these cabinets built to hold some of my china, and I have a lot. That's another thing that I tend to collect. You know what? My favorite piece of china, this was the china that when Dan and I got married. This is Schumann, and they don't even make it anymore. And I love it because talk about grand millennial. It's happy, it's fun flowers, and my mother gave me a lot of the pieces to it, and I use it a lot. And then I use it with these I have a whole dessert set of these. This is probably right up there with that one, because these were a gift from my mother's, I think, for my 30th birthday. And and I use those every chance I get. So I am anxious to have a dining room again because I do love to set a table, and I continue to purchase those kinds of things. I love cocktail napkins. I love all the things that anybody who entertains loves to use, and I'd rather use those things on a table, really the decorative items, almost more than a lot of flowers, because they have such good memories. My favorite thing about my home is my family. When we are here, everybody is always relaxed. My home, and I think this goes back again to growing up as a military kid, your home is the most important investment that you'll ever make. And I know that when I moved so often, Allison, my mother would, I don't know how she did it, but she could transform wherever we were into our home where things felt familiar. And even though she added new things in from different cultures, it always felt like home. So to me, that I still have that aesthetic. And I have things of my mother's, I have things of dear friends that are no longer with us. And to me, the most, I guess the most important things would be family and feeling super secure and relaxed when I walk in here at the end of the day. And for my husband is an attorney, and he is, he really works a lot. And nothing makes me happier than when he comes home and says, I love walking in our house.
Thanks for watching. For more Homeworthy content, be sure to like and subscribe.